morning, everyone. Good morning to you. So let us please rise in body or spirit and sing our gathering song. Come, come, whoever you are. The words will be up on the screen. Here we go. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving houses, no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come once more. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving houses, no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come.
Good morning. Welcome to Mount Diablo Unitarian Universalist Church. I'm Reverend Rodney Lemery, and my pronouns are he and him. For those who are visiting this morning, we want to give you a hearty welcome. Last week we clapped for our visitors. Maybe we could do so again today. We're really glad that you've chosen to spend part of your week with us here in the sanctuary or in Borton Hall if you need a little more space, or on our live stream, and for a more interactive virtual experience on our YouTube live channel. Lots of different options on how you can be a part of this community. Welcome back if you haven't been on campus or with us for a little while. For those who are online, please don't forget to join our virtual coffee hour, which will be held for 15 minutes after the service so that you can say hello to everyone that you've been hopefully chatting with in the chat on YouTube. If you are visiting, we hope that you will sign a visitor's card either virtually or on our website or in person at the Rainbow Table in Borton Hall after the service. You can also sign up for our next newcomer series, which will be restarting in September. And please join us for refreshments sponsored by the middle schoolers on the brick patio, which is to your left as you exit the sanctuary. Our newest rounds of community circles are up and running. Community circles, for those who don't know, are small groups that meet for meaningful conversation for a number of weeks and are led by a trained facilitator. It's a really great way to deepen your relationships here at MDUUC, and it is not too late to sign up. I also wanted to take this opportunity to remind you all that this Wednesday at 6 p.m., we will be serving our MDUUC community meal, cooked by me. So please come and eat a very simple meal of soup and cornbread, lots of cornbread, with friends and members of this community. And also, if you're feeling so moved on that evening, you can stick around with us and watch a movie that those present will actually get to select. Our free democratic process at work. Maybe even bring a friend, and I really hope to see you there. So welcome right now to this, our beloved community.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Janice Davis, a member of your Board of Trustees, and I use the pronouns she and her. Welcome to our service. Mount Diablo Unitarian Universalist Church is a welcoming faith community. We begin our services by reading our mission together. We bring to life our Unitarian Universalist values as we seek truth and work for justice, nurture compassion and courage, reach out to each other and to our larger community of faith, bridge the divisions that wound the human family, transform ourselves and our world. This community exists because of the time, talent, and treasure that our members and friends share. Please check out the just-in-time section of the weekly email and our newsletter and the just-in-time board in Borton Hall to connect and contribute. The best way to learn more about us is to sign a visitor's card online or at our umbrella table in Borton Hall to receive our This Week at MDUUC email on Fridays. While we're no longer checking vaccination status, our expectation is that those who are inside are vaccinated and symptom-free. If you're visiting us and interested in learning more about our children's programs, please leave your name at the welcome table so that our Director of Religious Education, Marina McGregor, can contact you. Our lead minister, Reverend Leslie Takahashi, is on campus this morning in case you need a listening ear. And welcome. It's good to be together.
Me again. So once a month, we have the incredible opportunity to share our Sunday service offering with an organization that aligns with our mission to transform ourselves and our world. Today, I stand before you as the Vice Chair of the Interfaith Council for Contra Costa County's Board of Directors. I am thrilled to introduce you, or maybe remind you, of this remarkable organization. The Interfaith Council of Contra Costa County is a nonprofit that brings together over 109 different faith communities within our county. Their elected council representatives, like our very own Kate Newkirk, who represents our congregation as part of that council, is engaged in dialogue across religious differences, seeking common ground and understanding. This organization has a very long history and origin story in providing chaplaincy services to the incarcerated individuals of our county, both the adults and the youth. In its current state, the Interfaith Council provides 2 chaplains to the Juvenile Detention Center program. They have even launched a new program called iChange, which is responsible for educating lay people on trauma-informed spiritual services and connecting them with mentees inside the detention center. This important work also asks these mentors to act as the bridging agents, connecting the youth to the free world upon re-entry. The latest initiative from Interfaith Council is iCare, which aims to connect faith organizations with other nonprofits like Hope, Shelter Inc., Trinity Center, and others. And through these joint efforts, like creating breakfast bags or hygiene kits, or lending a helping hand painting facilities, they are directly supporting those in our community who are in need. And these are just a few examples of the amazing work this organization does to improve the lives throughout the county. We are kindly asking you to consider giving generously today by noting "Share the Plate" on your check or offertory envelope. And if you're joining us online, please click the Give Now button and select the Share the Plate from the category dropdown before submitting your donation amount. Your support and generosity make a profound difference. Thank you again for being part of this transformative journey. And now, in the spirit of transformation, let's greet one another and let one another know that we're glad that you're here.
I'm Michelle Paquette, and I use she and her pronouns. Today's chalice lighting is a quote from Alan Watts. To have faith is to trust yourself to the water. When you swim, you don't grab a hold of the water because if you do, you'll sink and drown. Instead, you relax and float.
Good morning. I would like to invite those who are young and young at heart to come forward for a time for all ages.
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Jean, and you may know, you may not, that I come from England, but I've been in this country over 50 years. Now, when I first came, I came to New York, and I went on a ship, and I came all the way to New York, and I was by myself, and I was very, very scared. Largely because people had told me that New Yorkers were horrible people. They said they mugged you. I didn't know what that meant, but it meant hitting you on the head and punching you and stealing from you and taking your purse. And I thought, oh, what am I getting myself into with all these people? Anyway, I arrived in New York, was met by friends. They took me to their home. I spent the night there. They went to work the next day, and they said, now just sort of go out and explore. I thought, you don't know how nervous I am. Anyway, I looked out the window, and people looked normal. They were walking along, you know, nobody was hitting anybody on the head. And I thought, well, maybe it's not so bad. So I went out and began walking. And people were not hitting me on the head. They weren't pleasant. They weren't smiling. They were rushing and looked a bit grumpy, but I could live with that. It's all right as long as I'm okay. And so I finally was walking along Fifth Avenue. Have you ever heard of that? It's a lovely street in New York. I thought, well, I've got this far and I'm safe. And so I walked a little bit, and a man came up to me. I thought, here it goes. This is it. And he said, excuse me, can you tell me the way to Rockefeller Center? And I said, that is amazing. I arrived here yesterday. And he said, well, how funny, I arrived here today. So we both had a laugh about that. And he said, you know, I'd like to take you to lunch. I love that. He said, where would you like to go? I said, well, I don't know anywhere in New York. But I said, I really think my first lunch in America should be hamburger and French fries. He said, well, we'll find that for you. So we go along a little way, and we find the restaurant that would serve that, a cafe, really. And so we went in there and sat down. We ordered our lunches. And he was absolutely charming. He was Australian, and he was with the ice skating team. And everything I was interested in, he was interested in too. I thought, I just can't believe my good luck. What about all this striking you on the head stuff? This is marvelous. So I was busy talking. I'd finished my hamburger and French fries. No, I was still working on my hamburger and French fries, but he'd finished his lunch. And he said, would you like to come to see some ice skating today? Oh, I said, I'd love to. He said, well, I have to go and make a phone call, canceling other things I was going to do. So if you just hold on a minute, I'll be right back. Well, he went, and I thought, what a lovely city this is. How charming people are. What a great place is New York. And I waited, and I waited, and I waited, and he never came back, and I had to pay the bill. So that was my first day in New York. It got better after that.
Well, thank you. And now I'd like to invite you all to sing our children and youth to their activities.
Good morning. I'm Les Polgar, your worship associate today, and my pronouns are he and him. What does the USA look like from Europe? Our speaker today, Evan Juncker, asks. He is currently living and experiencing this question in Germany right now. It's a question that has been on my mind throughout 70 years of switching between the old world and the new as my place of living, working, and thinking. When I was in second grade, my family left my native Budapest after we got legal exit visas from the communist regime. We emigrated first to Canada, the US quota for Hungary being full, and then 3 years later, 70 years ago, in the fall of 1953, to Ohio. I don't remember much about Budapest life, but I do remember that the all-knowing party state decided pretty much everything about our existence: housing, healthcare, education, transportation, communication, and food. Individual choice, aspiration, and hard work meant little back there and then. In Europe, even today, the democracies have much greater centralized control over the lives of their citizens than here in the USA. What we saw in Brexit, the withdrawal of the United Kingdom from the European Economic Union just 3 years ago, was a rebellion against the many centralized and detailed rules that exercised local control. There are lessons for us here in the USA about Brexit. Europeans mostly do not understand the balance, which is sometimes in turmoil, maybe often in turmoil, between the federal and state authority in the USA, and it was designed that way by the founders. For my parents' generation, who were born around 1900, if you want a mental picture, think of Amor Towles's great book, A Gentleman in Moscow. The Count, that was my father. The USA to them was a beacon of freedom. Twice in world wars, and once in a protracted Cold War, the new world came to the rescue of the old, especially in the Marshall Plan and the Berlin Airlift, which were both to aid Europe and both 75 years ago. That view of a beacon of freedom hasn't changed totally in my generation, but it has understandably cracked. In 1960s and 70s in Vietnam, then 30 years later in the Middle East, and most recently in what I call the Clockwork Orange movement that began in 2016. A quote describes these recent events. Here it is. There are many people of principle in both parties in America, but there is no party of principle. Now, the funny thing about that quote in describing what happened beginning around 2016 is that it's from the Frenchman Alexis de Tocqueville, who explained such an event before they even happened. And he remains the keenest observer of these United States. My experience can be boiled down to this: Europe knows history. America makes it. By the accidents and coincidences of my journey, I'm a man divided. My head is European, but my heart is as American as it gets. This is my favorite de Tocqueville. The greatness of America lies not in being more enlightened than any other nation, but rather in her ability to repair her faults. In that spirit, I call us to worship this day.
We invite you to please rise in body or spirit to sing our opening hymn, This Is My Song. Words will be up on the screen. This is my song, O God of all the nations, a song of peace o'er lands afar and mine. This is my home, the country where my heart is. Here are my hopes, my dreams, my only shine. But other hearts in other lands are beating with hopes and dreams as true and high as mine. My country's skies are bluer than the ocean, and sunlight beams on clover leaf and pine. But other lands have sunlight too and clover, and skies are everywhere as blue as mine. Oh, hear my song, thou God of all the nations, with hopes and dreams for their land and for mine.
It is the tradition in this congregation to light a candle when we lose a member to death, and I am lighting a candle this morning for Krista Bogart. Who died last Sunday after a period of declining health. And I'm going to give this candle to Scott Schrader to place in our bowl today, because I want to honor Scott's dedication and that of other people in our congregation to providing care and support for Krista in these last years of her life, especially in the last years since she lost her husband, Vic, 4 years ago. Though Krista was not often with us in presence in these last years, she continued to be supported by this congregation, and that support was very valuable to her and very important. And so we honor Krista and her spirit, and we hold her in our hearts. Let us take a moment to remember Krista Bogart. May we continue to remember the best of her spirit. And there will be an address published with the name and address of Krista's sister, Ginger Burnsog, who could use cards of support at this time. This is the time in our service when we take into the loving heart of this congregation those joys and sorrows that are too great to hold alone. And this morning, Les and Sue Polgar are lighting a candle, and it is a candle of gratitude. They write, grandson Moses ran the San Francisco Marathon today and came in 30th out of 4,966 runners. All right. Marjorie Wallace is lighting a candle this morning. It's a candle of concern. She writes, I'm lighting a candle of concern along with a lot of hang in there good wishes for recovery soon for my good friend and MDU-UCer, Daphne Gallagher. Notwithstanding being fully vaccinated and boosted for a few weeks now, Daphne has been dealing first with COVID and now with post-COVID symptoms, which are lingering on. I'm going to ask Scott to light a candle for Davina Smith, who sent this in last week and I missed it. Davina writes, I will most likely sleep through service on Sunday, but want to offer a joy. Our foster cats, Bitsy and Twitch, made the journey from Concord to their forever home in Reno on Thursday, sending them love as they adjust to life with their new human. So congratulations to Bitsy and Twitch. And I'm asking Scott to light another candle for Donald Sturkey, who is recovering now at Windsor Manor and would welcome calls and visits as he faces quite a long period of recovery after his surgery. And Scott is also lighting another candle for us for Marge Chapel, who is under the weather, and everyone knows that Marge is the most diligent sender of cards, so my goal is that Marge gets lots of cards this week. A little bit of payback there. So, and then we're going to, Tom Taylor is lighting a candle this morning and writes, as he strides up to the podium here, yes, says, "Thank you for all the support I have received from the congregation." We're glad to see you, Tom, looking so well. It's great to see you. And Maura Mattingly is lighting a candle. She writes, "A candle of great joy for my daughter, Libby Rodas, who started on her first job as an RN this week. Her journey was challenging, but she persevered." That's great. Wonderful. Bob Maxwell is lighting a candle this morning and writes, "Marcia and I celebrated our 40th wedding anniversary last Sunday. A good time was had by all." And I'm going to ask Scott to light 3 candles on behalf of the Caring Committee, who would like to honor the following 90-plus July birthdays as we recognize our chronologically most gifted people. Doris Baltso, who's with us today, who turns 95 this week on July 29th. Maria Rieger, who will turn 93 this month, and Bob Hansen, who turned 94 last week. So we're grateful for all of those. I also want to mention that Bob Hansen has moved back into our area and is now living at Byron Park. So I invite people to drop by, and I understand he plays a mean game of dominoes. I ask Scott to light 2 final candles. One holds those joys and sorrows that are not expressed in words, but which are still held in the loving embrace of this congregation. And the last holds our hopes and dreams and wishes for this one puzzling but yet still wonderful world of which we are a part.
Please remain seated as we sing our meditational hymn, Gathered Here. Words will be up on your screen. We'll sing this 4 times. Here we go. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit, draw near. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit, draw near. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit, draw near. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour,
Now is the time that this community spends in focused intention, time of meditation, and sometimes, like today, the deep ask of communal prayer. So whatever that means to you, I ask you to center your heart and spend the next minute or two with me and pray. Dear Spirit of life, love, all-encompassing message of hope, today we are gathered as tapestries of hopeful souls. I think that part of our hope is that we are trying to be comfortable with the dichotomy that all people and all of their creations have the potential of great harm and also great healing. As we pray together today, let us hold on to that hope and breathe in the boundless possibilities of America's dream for all of her citizens. Today we pray for this country. Historical truths are important to embrace, spirit of knowledge and wisdom. The shadows that cast upon this land through the devastation of colonization and the brutality of the chains that once bound our black siblings in the relentless grip of enslavement, from which they did not derive benefits of any kind. I pray for what this country is. As Unitarian Universalists, we are pilgrims on the path to progress. We cherish liberty and the radiant vision of a more perfect world, not in an afterlife to come, but one that we could build by the sweat of our own brows. With each individual heartbeat in all of its uniqueness and diverse specialty, we feel democracy's call, acknowledging the need for our collective liberation and understanding that it can only be recognized through becoming the hands, feet, and mouth of the God many of us no longer believe will simply save us with no effect on our behalf. Anchoring on this dichotomy of harm and healing, I believe that we can understand the shadows of our past and all of the legacies that are still at play while embracing an America that might just be in reach for all people. I pray for what this country might be. May we continue to be beacons of hope and love, embracing the vastness of this nation's dreams and igniting a flame of compassion and empathy within every heart. With faith as our compass, we journey forward, illuminating the world with the radiance of unity, justice, and boundless possibility, holding the dichotomy of harm and healing very close to our hearts. I pray for this country and our community as well. Amen, Ashe, and blessed be.
Good morning. My name is Jana Contreras. I'm a member of your Board of Trustees, and I use she, her pronouns. A few weeks ago, I was reading the New York Times, and I came across a headline that caught my eye. It was the latest in a series of opinion pieces by Jessica Gross, explaining the rise of Americans with no formal religious affiliation, also known as nuns, and was titled, "What Churches Offer That Nuns Still Long For." Early on in the piece, Ms. Groves noted that, quote, "The one aspect of religion in America that I unquestionably see as an overall positive for society is the ready-made, supportive community that churchgoers can access." Later on in the article, she interviews and quotes Phil Zuckerman, a professor of sociology and secular studies at Pitzer College, who told her, quote, "I can go play soccer on a Sunday morning and hang out with people from different races and different class backgrounds, and we can bond. But I'm not doing that with my grandparents and my grandchildren. A soccer team," she notes, "a soccer team can't provide spiritual solace in the face of death. It probably doesn't have a weekly charitable call, and there's no sense of connection to a heritage that goes back generations. You can get bits and pieces of these disparate qualities elsewhere," he said, "but there's no one-stop shop, at least not right now." Connection with people of different backgrounds and generations, spiritual solace in the face of death and other life events and challenges, a sense of connection that often goes back generations, and of course, the weekly charitable call. These are all qualities that here at MDUUC we aim to nurture. Please join me in giving so that we may continue to offer that supportive community and sustain and grow the life and mission of this congregation. I invite you to go to our website, mduuc.org, and click on the Give Now button, or place your offering in the basket as the ushers come forward. The ushers will now receive our offerings. Now please join me in the dedication of the offering. The words will be on the screen. To the work of this community in transforming ourselves and our world, we dedicate ourselves and our offerings.
Good morning. I landed in Germany on a very hot day in July of last year. I made my way from Frankfurt to a small city in the southwestern part of the country called Reutlingen. And I had 3 suitcases and a dog. Along the way, I learned quite a few things. There is no such thing as air conditioning in most of this country. Nobody drinks tap water, and I still don't know why. There is no ice in drinks. Also, I don't know why. And if you want to go grocery shopping on Sunday, good luck. Everything is closed except parks and a few shops, and I think those are only open because the store owners forgot what day it was. I got good at watching, which is useful because people watching in Germany is a sport. I saw kids riding public transport to school and back, and small children walking an hour or 2 after it got dark alone. I saw people standing at the edge of a crosswalk with no cars around, waiting for permission from the electronic god of crosswalks to cross the street. 17-year-olds drinking beer, walking down the street, perfectly sober and fine. One day I saw an ambulance. Drove by while my neighbors and I were sitting at a cafe in downtown. And I remember saying, well, they're going to be paying that off for a long time. Kind of a knee-jerk reaction, one I think a lot of us think if we see something like that. They looked at me very puzzled and explained that there is no cost for using the ambulance and seemed to wonder why there ever would be. Of course, these sorts of experiences made me think we should do these things in America. We should copy this and paste that here. Everyone in America should do X, Y, Z. But of course, that's not to be. But that was just the way I was. Typical liberal, just trying to copy and paste things into my country of origin that in many ways I'm kind of embarrassed of. But what I learned as I got to know more people and make friends, not an easy thing to do in Germany, was that while gun laws and things being closed on Sundays and 27 holidays a year and a legal requirement to give people 6 months notice before letting them go if they've been with a company at least 10 years, those things might be nice. They are the result of the culture that I am in, not the cause of the culture. So what leads to this? Why do I have to go without groceries on Sundays? Values. Before speaking to you today, I asked my German friends and some Indian colleagues from my MBA program if they had thoughts on America. What puzzled them? What didn't they understand? The first and most dominant response I got in asking people this question was guns. There's just not an understanding of how school shootings and just shootings in general could be so rampant, and yet nothing is ever done about it. Then there was a comment about what they saw as a double standard. How can a country with so many problems look down on other countries so much? How can they take so much pride in setting laws to regulate drinking and smoking with fines and age limits and place restrictions, but guns and gambling and pretty much every other aspect of American life goes unchecked, unregulated, and adrift? And when I look at the US, I wonder, where could we have gone wrong? And the land we occupy was not always quite this way. Before Europeans came, there seemed to be different sets of values scattered across this land. It was only when a group of people put independence as the primary foundation of society that things perhaps veered a little off course. Somehow, independence from aggressors and the desire for self-determination as a country bled into independence from each other and self-determination without regard to responsibilities to society or others in that society. The desire to have anything available all the time has created a society that requires minimum wage workers to work all hours of the night and all days of the week. The individual right to carry a concealed weapon overtakes the community's desire to have children live and go to school. The need to go anywhere at any time in a car means most public transportation systems in our country are used mostly only by those who cannot afford a car. And we've tried. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King once said, "It might be true the law cannot change the heart, but it can restrain the heartless." And over the years, we have tried so hard to use legislation, to some extent successfully, to address the symptoms of our lack of values as a country, while others have used legislation as a tool to rescind those changes. But nothing has yet changed that heart. And that's what it comes down to. Every society has a set of values on which it is founded. The country I live in redefined those values, both in language and structure of their government following the last World War. They even passed a law with an eternity clause, which I didn't know was a thing. But this eternity clause prevents future changes or edits to it. But this law states human dignity is inviolable. It's not too far from our belief in inherent worth and dignity. And I'm not saying that Germany is perfect. Anyone with a basic elementary knowledge of history understands the horrible tragedy of the millions of lives lost in the Holocaust and the world wars that killed many more. Germany has certainly struggled with its history. Yet each year, school children from across the country visit sites of former concentration camps to learn the impacts of a society that veered off course. Imagine if we took students from states in the South and took them to battlefields, and as opposed to reenacting them or talking about the battle itself, we talk about how society veered off course. In their reconstructed capital, the Germany equivalent of the Capitol building is built underground with a glass ceiling that citizens and tourists can walk on top of. Important symbolism, and an act that ensures legislators know who is above them. The United States has never really come to grips with its past, much less addressed its underlying failings. At each crossroads in history, we rehash old battle lines with those who benefit from systemic oppression, leveraging a broken democracy built on an electoral college system and a battle cry of independence, against those seeking to bring values into a society that seems to value its lack of societal values. Now, we're even banning books in some states and changing how we teach this tainted history. The American core value of independence was a great sounding cry as we stood unified against British colonial control. Yet that independence was turned inwardly as a weapon against collaboration, interdependence, common good, and collective responsibility. A country on the brink of democratic meltdown can ill afford to continue down a path of self-indulgence and self-gratification. Now, even in my beloved new home, not all is well. There are fringes of right-wing extremists that are growing as a reaction to a slowing economy and the burden of a war in nearby Ukraine. While far from the majority, the signals are there and concern grows. And still, who would have thought 80 years ago that Germany would be a beacon of hope for refugees fleeing war, the financial underpinning of the European Union, and an exemplar of democratic values to the world? While introspection, time, and a lot of work have not changed its history, it has changed its present and future course. And as youth, we must continue to build communities of engagement, to create pockets where our values can be lived out, like MDUUC. We must strive to stay engaged even when we feel things are hopeless. In many ways, we struggle. But as a people of faith rooted in religious values that go back thousands of years. We've been here before. Our religious heritage is filled with those who stood up to persecution and lived lives in pursuit of a society that reflected our values. I hope we can continue to grow as a faith, as a community committed to shifting the future of our society as a whole, but also the communities and the neighborhoods and the social circles in which we exist. Every country struggles with its past, and we try to change things in the present and hope to impact the future. And together, we can do just that. May it be so.
We invite you to please rise in body or spirit to sing our closing hymn, We'll Build a Land. Words will be on your screen. Here we go. We'll build a land where we bind up the broken. We'll build a land where the captives go free, where the oil of gladness dissolves all mourning. Oh, we'll build a promised land that can be. Come, build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. We'll build a land where we bring the good tidings to all the afflicted and all those who mourn, and we'll give them garlands instead of ashes. Oh, we'll build a land where peace is born. Come, build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. We'll build a land binding up ancient cities, raising up devastations from old, restoring ruins of generations. Oh, we'll build a land of people so bold. Come, build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. Come, build a land where the mantles of praises resound from spirits once faint and once weak, where like oaks of righteousness stand her people. Oh, come, build the land, my people, we seek. Come, build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream.
Now, as we extinguish the flame of the chalice here, may its light burn deeply in our hearts. And who could we learn from more about America than the incomparable James Baldwin, who said, "Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced."